Welcome back to ATL Day Ones. I am Tenitra. That is Jarvis. And thank you for checking us out once again today. And also, thanks for downloading this podcast wherever you get your podcasts and continuing to give us 5-star reviews. You guys have been so on point with that. And we definitely appreciate you. And you know what we also hope will be on point this coming fall season? At least some members of the Falcons team, right? So the roster is full right now. Veterans have reported today. In fact, word is Deion Jones reported a little early. Interesting. Maybe he's trying to work his way off that pup list a little sooner rather than later. But yeah,
Hmm.
the veterans are back in full effect in Flowery Branch. And of course, everything really kicks off with both the rookies who came in last week, veterans who come in this week, starting on Friday. So training camp starts on Friday. Got a couple weeks under your belt before they head to Detroit for their first preseason game on August 12th. So we've been looking at this team, Jarvis, off season, watching the moves that were made on both sides of the ball. But now it's like the rubber is going to hit the road
It's
because some
real.
pads are going to be on. You may have some joint practices. You already know from everything Arthur Smith has indicated that veterans are going to get more playing time in the preseason. And I think that's because they want to see who has mastered Dean Pease's defense. Let's just start right there because
Hmm.
that's going to be one critical piece. And they need to see who is ultimately going to be under center to start game one against the Saints. So let's talk first about the defensive side of the ball, right? Because you had a lot of veterans added to the defensive side of the ball to give Dean Pease a little bit more to work with so that he can operate his defense at way more than that 60% he operated it at last year.
Yeah.
So with
You
that,
know,
right?
you want to be a professional defensive coordinator. Like,
Exactly.
you don't want to
Yeah.
be him spoon feeding grown men. You know what I mean? So
Right.
yeah,
Which
definitely.
Yeah, so that when you think about that, that to me then means that he is looking for some veterans to make some serious impact. So when you think about some of those offseason moves, or even some players who've been there a couple years, so it might be young veterans or maybe older veterans, who do you need to see? Who has the most potential to make the biggest impact?
You know what? The first guy that comes to mind for me is has to be Casey Hayward because when you
Mm-hmm.
think about the deficiencies of the defense last year,
Mm-hmm.
we're just gonna call him FM, not radio, but his initials are F and M. I'm not gonna say his name on the show. I refuse to. I'm not gonna do that because he's bringing up wounds, sore wounds. So it was just really bad over there. Just to keep it to be quite frank, when you
Mm-hmm.
think about the type of play that AJ Terrell was playing on his side and type basically where it forced teams, and not only did there was a deficiency back on the backside, but
Mm-hmm.
AJ Terrell forced that too in a lot of different scenarios, and
Mm-hmm.
that I think that kind of spoke to his rating.
Yes.
I don't always subscribe fully to PFF grades, but I think
Mm-hmm.
that if you're ranked behind only one person in
Yes.
the NFL in that category, I think you've done a pretty good job. And that
Mm-hmm.
guy is Jalen Ramsey, and
Yeah.
that's in my eyes the best cornerback in the league. In my
Yes.
eyes, when you're talking about being able to follow man around, zone coverage,
Mm-hmm.
press, whatever you want to do, he can get down with it. So I think
Indeed.
that with Casey Hayward being brought in to the fold, you
Mm-hmm.
got a veteran that actually can play,
Yeah.
and I think and I think just him being solid, all he has to do is
Mm-hmm.
pretty much stay healthy in
Yeah.
order to have a big, probably one of the biggest impacts on the team because,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's going to help a lot of people, right? It's going
Yes.
to help AJ Terrell. Essentially, force teams to, hey, you know what? We can't just go backside. We're gonna have to come over his side at some point, and then that's going to eventually possibly lead to some turnovers,
Mm-hmm.
and him
Yes.
getting more interceptions. And
Mm-hmm.
then if you can hold up long enough, Casey Hayward can stay healthy and be the guy that he's been known to be. He came into the
Mm-hmm.
league to be. That's going to help out the defensive front as well. That's going to help them
Mm-hmm.
be able to get to the quarterback a little bit more.
Yes.
Have that quarterback pat that ball for one more second so those guys
Mm-hmm.
can get home. So I think that the first person comes to mind, because the defense was just terrible to you like
Yeah.
last year. It was bad. It was really
Mm-hmm.
bad. And I think
Yes.
that if you can fix that backside corner,
Mm-hmm.
which I believe they will. Like I said, if
Yes.
Casey Hayward stays healthy, that's exactly
Mm-hmm.
what I feel that's exactly where they'll be able to go
Yeah.
from a impact standpoint. Casey Hayward is going to be that guy.
And just to add to that, whether he's, hands in the dirt or not, I think Lorenzo Carter might be
Mm-hmm.
something special, like really giving Dean Pease somebody to work with who
Yes.
is literally going to be a threat and a fear in that linebacker core, right? So I feel like with Lorenzo Carter, he really, I think he gives Dean Pease the versatility that he was
Yes.
looking for, that he just did not get anywhere on his defensive front other than Grady Jarrett, if we, being honest about it, especially, once Grady really got a hold of that particular offense or defense. The other thing I will say is this, and I'm going to call him a young veteran because we're kind of talking about those guys who are like 5 years and older. But if we had to look at a younger veteran, I got my eye on Marlon Davidson. Like, this is the year you have got to make a big
You ain't
impact
got no
because we're
choice.
now
Yeah.
going into year three. And I know that makes you, a young veteran, if you will, but he's kind of my honorable mention for, somebody who needs to make a big impact, not just for this team, but for himself. And when you speak about big impacts, you know how you can make a big impact if you follow our partners, Bet Online, right, Jarvis?
BetOnline.net is the place where you need to be because, as we get ready to get started
Mm-hmm.
with training camp, practice, that means preseason games. You can
Yes.
practice at betonline.net because it is your
Mm-hmm.
number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. It is the fastest and easy way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including the specialties, right? The MMA, the boxing, and the golf. The live. Everybody making all these noise about live golf. Go over here and place a bet. Check them
Mm-hmm.
out. I'm sure there's some good numbers you can get, some good
Yes.
bets, and then guess what? They have all the information that you need to make the best choice. Head to the website today to use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. Bet
Mm-hmm.
online is where the game starts. Go there right now.
And where the Falcons game starts on offense is with Dave Ragone and Arthur Smith. They have themselves a few more toys to work with. Now,
Just a little
granted,
bit,
they got a
yeah.
lot of those toys
Right.
in this 2022 draft, but they also got some toys, some shiny new things in the offseason. So we really don't talk a lot about some of those veterans low key on that offensive side who can make an impact, and rightfully so. It's just what you said. The defense was so bad last year that all
Mm-hmm.
you can do is look at them and be optimistic about who they added in free agency. But there could be some veterans on the offensive side who could make a difference as well. And as we talked about, giving Dean Pease the opportunity to run his defense in full effect, giving Arthur Smith and Dave Ragone the opportunity as well to really expand their playbook. So, with that in mind, who would you like to see as a veteran make that impact on offense?
See, the first person that I have to go with because I thought about a guy like Jermaine Ifedi, right? We talked
You already know
about
that's my guy.
yeah. I know that's where you're going, so I ain't
You
gonna
already know, right?
I'm gonna let you have
You're
I'm
gonna
gonna let
go in
you
the
have
other
that one. So I'm gonna have to go with Brian Edwards.
Yes.
Brian
Yeah,
the
he
guy
was
they
my
traded
number
for the
two.
Raiders. Yeah,
Yes.
traded for the
Agreed,
Raiders.
Jarvis.
I think he's gonna be a guy who can work in that slot because that is
Yes.
going to be a nice trio of wide receivers, like
Mm-hmm.
literally tree, with the emphasis
Mm-hmm.
on tree. You're talking
Yes.
about Drake London, Kyle Pitts being able to line up outside and inside and put his
Mm-hmm.
hand down in the dirt, connected to the line
Yes.
as well. And so when you think about, and I think that, Edwards is a guy that the Falcons specifically sought out because they know exactly what they need. They know what
Mm-hmm.
exactly what they need in a wide receiver, and because we
Yes.
already know what the mold is, they
Mm-hmm.
like those big guys, those rangy guys. Those guys can take advantage of those smaller DBs that might
Mm-hmm.
be lining up in front of them each and every
Yes.
Sunday. So I think Brian Edwards is a guy that potentially could be that guy to have a little breakout season because one of his former
Yeah.
teammates was just speaking glowingly, and then Darren
Mm-hmm.
Waller, he
Yes.
talked about how Edwards is a guy that needs another shot, needs another
Mm-hmm.
opportunity because
Yes.
when you go somewhere and Waller understands that because he was
Mm-hmm.
originally drafted by the Ravens and he went
Yes.
to the Raiders and became an absolute baller.
Yeah.
Of course for some off the field stuff, but you never know what guys go through. And like I said,
Mm-hmm.
when you get an opportunity with another team, guys get that feeling of a fresh start. So I
Yeah.
think Edwards is gonna, for those couple of reasons, I think that he'll be a guy that you can look towards to have a pretty good season.
Yeah, I can't believe the Falcons got him for what? Basically nothing, a sixth round pick. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
like, I really believe he's going to be a steal. I truly believe he is going to be a steal. And like you said, you know who I have my eye on. I'm probably just going to stand there wherever the O line is every single day in training camp that I go. And then every
Right.
preseason game, I'm
Be
going to
there.
rewind the tape when I'm not physically there and just watch and see what is going on that
Hmm.
right side because Chris Lindstrom deserves help. He deserves better for all of the great play that he has given the Falcons since he was drafted. He deserves better. Now, Caleb McGarry has taken some steps. We know that. And so I don't want to minimize what he's tried to do in the offseason to get his body right and hopefully his mind right and that sort of thing. However, I think that, and maybe when you have somebody like a Jermaine Ifedi kind of breathing down your back, maybe that will get you to step up your game. But he's somebody I'm looking at. And then, Jarvis, I will go in a different direction in terms of not so much somebody that the Falcons went out and got, but someone that they actually already have who made a huge impact last season, probably saved them on offense, to be honest with you. And that's Cordero Patterson. He
Mm.
also showed up early this morning, ready to rock and roll. And as long as his body shows up, again, the versatility that he brings, just to be able to be a bruising back, but then he'll catch the ball. He's a great pass catcher. And every now and again, if Marquise needs to put him in some special team situations, he can do that for him as well. So he's one of those veterans. Granted, he's coming back for us. But I think you would agree with me as well. Grady Jarrett is another veteran who, yes, he's coming back, but I sure expect him to be one of those guys who makes a big impact, if not the biggest impact. So, speaking of impacts, if you will, the XFL is trying to make an impact and make some noise. So, when we come back, we'll tell you exactly where they're going to make noise, maybe next season on For the Culture.